small town of Maplewood, Jack Johnson was a name that people trusted. At least, that's what he liked to think. Jack owned the only repair shop in town. His shop was small and a bit cluttered, with tools hanging on the walls and piles of broken appliances in every corner. Jack liked to tell anyone who came in for repairs that he was the most honest man around. Jack was in his mid-30s. He had short, dark hair that he kept combed neatly, and his clothes always looked presentable, except for the old apron he wore while working. He wasn't an unattractive man, but there was something about his personality that made people a little uncomfortable. He was always talking about his good deeds, how he helped everyone, how he gave back to the community. The truth was, Jack wasn't as honest as he claimed. He liked to take advantage of people who didn't know much about repairs, overcharging them for simple fixes. He would take a few minutes to fix a bike or a toaster and charge them way more than it was worth. He loved the feeling of power that came from knowing that the people who trusted him were unknowingly paying him too much. One morning, Ellie Carter, a local waitress, walked into his shop. She was holding a coffee machine that had stopped working. Ellie was known for her warmth and kindness. Her brown hair framed her face in soft waves, and she had a smile that could light up a room. "Good morning, Jack," she said with her usual smile. "I was hoping you could take a look at this. It's been acting up." Jack grinned. He knew Ellie was married, but he couldn't help but notice her beauty. Her curves were subtle, but enough to make his heart race. He was eager to help her, not because he liked fixing things, but because he wanted her attention. "I'll get it fixed for you, Ellie," he said with a charming smile. "You can count on me. No one does it better than Jack Johnson." Ellie nodded and left the machine with him. Over the next few days, Jack found reasons to visit the diner where Ellie worked. He would stop by during her shifts, ordering coffee and pie, hoping to catch her attention. Each time, he would chat her up, trying to make her laugh with stories about his life and how generous he was. Ellie was always polite, but she kept her distance. She was married to Tom, a strong and reliable farmer, and she loved him dearly. She had no interest in Jack's advances, but she was too kind to be rude. Jack, however, didn't seem to get the hint. He began leaving larger tips than usual, thinking it might win Ellie over. Each time, he complimented her on her beauty, but Ellie politely brushed off his comments. Then, one day, when the diner was nearly empty, Jack slipped a note into Ellie's apron pocket. She didn't see it until after the lunch rush had died down. She pulled it out and read it. "Meet me behind the diner after closing. I have something special to share." Ellie felt a strange mix of discomfort and anger. She knew that Jack's intentions weren't pure, but she didn't want to cause trouble. She decided to show the note to Tom that evening, hoping to come up with a plan together. Tom was always calm and level-headed, and Ellie trusted him to help handle the situation. That evening, as the sun set and their daughter Lily was tucked into bed, Ellie sat down with Tom. She showed him the note from Jack, and Tom's expression hardened. "Jack's crossing the line," Tom said, his voice low. He was a man who didn't speak much, but when he did, it was with authority. "We need to handle this carefully." Ellie nodded. She loved Tom with all her heart. He had a quiet strength about him that made her feel safe. Together, they decided on a plan that would teach Jack a lesson without causing a scene. Ellie would write back to Jack, pretending to be interested in his proposal. She would tell him that Tom would be out late at the farmer's market, and that the back door of their house would be left unlocked for him. The idea was to get Jack to believe that Ellie was finally interested in him, so they could catch him in the act. "I'll write the note tomorrow," Ellie said. "He won't know what hit him." Tom smiled softly. "We'll take care of it." The next evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Jack made his way to the Carter house. His heart raced with excitement. He was about to meet Ellie, the woman he had been pursuing for so long. He was sure that this was the moment he had been waiting for. When Jack arrived, the back door of the house was indeed unlocked, just as Ellie had said. He stepped inside, taking a deep breath. The house was quiet, and the dim light of the living room made everything feel cozy. He moved slowly, not wanting to alert anyone. "Ellie," he called, his voice soft. From the hallway, Ellie appeared, wearing a simple dress that hugged her figure in all the right places. Jack couldn't help but stare for a moment, but she didn't seem to notice. She smiled warmly, as always. "Hi, Jack," she said. "Come in, make yourself comfortable. I'll get us some coffee." Jack smiled, feeling his confidence grow. He sat down on the couch, admiring Ellie as she moved about the room. There was something about her presence that made everything feel right, even though he knew he was only there because of his own selfish intentions. As Ellie walked toward the kitchen, she motioned for Jack to wait in the living room. But what Jack didn't know was that Tom was already outside, keeping an eye on things. Sheriff Sam Parker, a close friend of the Carters, was also nearby, waiting in case things escalated. Meanwhile, Ellie quietly moved to the front door and locked it, ensuring that Jack couldn't leave until they had a chance to deal with him. Ellie returned to the living room with a tray of coffee cups. She set it down in front of Jack and sat across from him. Jack's eyes sparkled with excitement, thinking this was finally his chance to win Ellie's heart. He leaned forward, trying to appear charming. "So, Ellie, you really came to your senses, huh?" Jack said, his voice smooth. "I knew you'd come around eventually." Ellie smiled, but there was a hint of mischief in her eyes. "Well, Jack, I wanted to know what you had to offer. I've been curious about what's so special that you wanted to meet me." Jack grinned. He had her exactly where he wanted her. "I thought you'd never ask." Just as Jack leaned forward, Tom appeared in the doorway. He looked surprised, but only for a moment. "Well, Jack," Tom said, his voice low, "what are you doing here at this hour?" Jack's face froze. He scrambled for an explanation, but Tom wasn't buying it. I thought I could help with something around the house," Jack said, trying to sound casual. Tom didn't buy it for a second. "Well, since you're here, Jack, why don't you give me a hand fixing the barn door? It's been stuck all week." Jack was about to protest, but Tom wasn't giving him a chance. He handed Jack a toolbox and gestured toward the door. Jack had no choice but to follow. In the barn, Jack spent the next few hours fixing small, insignificant problems that didn't actually need to be fixed. Tom kept him busy, while Ellie brought out lemonade and sandwiches for the men. Jack grew increasingly frustrated, but he didn't want to risk angering Tom or causing a scene. After what felt like an eternity, Tom finally said, "Good work, Jack. The barn door is fixed." Jack was exhausted and humiliated, but he couldn't show it. Tom handed him a small amount of cash as payment for his work. "You've been a big help tonight," Tom said with a smile. Jack nodded, muttering a thank you. As he left the property, he felt embarrassed. He couldn't believe he had fallen for the trap. The next day, Ellie shared the story with Sheriff Sam Parker, who spread the word to the townsfolk. They all laughed at Jack's misfortune. Slowly, people started to realize that Jack wasn't as honest as he claimed to be. His business suffered as customers began to question his integrity. Embarrassed and humiliated, Jack started to change. He began charging fair prices for his work and put more effort into doing a good job. Over time, he became a better man, though he never forgot the night he spent fixing a barn door for free. The town of Maplewood grew stronger, learning the importance of standing up to dishonesty. Ellie and Tom continued to live their quiet, happy life. Jack, though humbled, became a more honest man, and the community respected him for it. The story ended with the townspeople gathered at a summer picnic, enjoying the sunshine and sharing stories. They laughed about the time Jack learned his lesson, and everyone was reminded of how important it was to do the right thing